with Frank Nazar kind of in that bumper role on the power play. I know he also played net front even in World Championships, but what's kind of been your instruction to him about and playing in the middle there?
Well, first, I do think there's some flexibility for him to go to the net front / goal line and Bert to go in the bumper. And we actually tried that a little bit last night, so we'll have some flexibility for those two guys to switch spots. When he's in the bumper, I know Mike Vellucci's worked with him about watching, and actually Brian King going back to this summer, just about watching some of the bumper guys and how they kind of support the puck. Ultimately, my take on the bumper to be successful there is you have to be smart enough to kind of find the little quiet areas, and you got to get the shot off quick and elevate it quickly. And I think that's why a guy like Braden Point has been so good there. That's why Reinhardt's been so good there. And then the other piece of that is kind of watching a guy like Dylan Larkin, who's really thrived in the bumper, but he's also thrived doing it not necessarily in the kind of one-time spot. As a lefty, when Kane has the puck, he kind of gets into those real quiet areas, but he's able to catch and release so quickly. So if you imagine just flip the side, Connor has the puck, getting Frank to be able to catch and release like that, it will be really important. So it's a work in progress. We'll see how it continues to go.
A lot was made of Connor's just to work, put in the speed and adding some quickness. Where are you seeing that maybe different than what you saw on tape, coming in this season?
It's a little bit hard for me because I think seeing stuff on tape and seeing stuff live firsthand is difficult. But I'll rely a little bit on the information I'm given from people that have been around here, and everybody says he's definitely quicker, definitely more agile, definitely more explosive, definitely more endurance within the shift. And all those things lead to him being in a situations to either get the spots quicker to get open or transport the puck up the ice better or pressure and get the puck back. So, part of what Connor did this summer too is try to come up with a game plan to he's somebody who probably has to watch overworking and has to make sure, I know he looked at this summer a little differently than he did the previous summer where, getting himself to a spot where he wasn't going to be burnt out by October, and so all I know is what I see. He's been quick, he's been agile, he's been on pucks. I certainly like the things that I see out of him.
I saw you talking to Del Mastro before practice. Probably been a tough training camp for him, but what's the message that you have for him? And not reading too much into the last week and a half, but also recognizing that it is important time for guys to separate themselves.
It is. I think the biggest thing with Ethan is I love his swag. I love his makeup, his moxie, him as a person, and those are important things. I think he's a guy that you want in your locker room. He's a foxhole guy. Those things are all going to go a long way. I think a lot of times bigger guys, it takes a little bit longer to get going. It's just reality. I've seen it, time and again in different situations where, and so I just don't know that, he's played, he hasn't played to the level that I know he can still play at. But he's played good. It's not that he hasn't, he's just I know there's another level there, and some of that comes from just, as a big man, he carries he's just a big man. It takes a while to get going sometimes. So getting used to the systems, him and I talked about that. Like when you get used to new systems, sometimes you're thinking about what does the coach want me to do instead of just going out and playing and then getting kind of coached after, and that can slow you down, especially if you're someone who cares a lot and wants to do it right. You can almost overcare and instead of just kind of going out and playing. So I think ultimately he'll get one more game in this preseason, and long term I think he's a real good player and a real good piece for us.
Do you know how you want to use those last two games?
As I see it today, we'll probably have a lineup closer to our opening day lineup on Friday, and then we wouldn't play many of those guys back to back. So now he's going to line up on Saturday. I wouldn't say it's necessarily our opening game lineup, but it's going to be closer to that.
A couple days ago, you talked about roster decisions with forwards and how players might fit into different groups and what might be best for them. Do you see guys like Oliver Moore and Lucas Reichel in different groups when you're evaluating them, or kind of in a same position?
I think they're in different groups in the sense that, one's a first-year pro, and so like that's a different kind of animal than Lucas, who's been around a bit, So I think we just got to let it kind of play out and see, kind of getting that balance between where guys can help us the most come Tuesday against Florida and what's best for their long-term development. And I think the younger or newer pro that you are, the more that you're kind of cognitive of the fact that it might be best to be in a position to thrive and not just survive.
What was Flynn on maintenance?
Yeah, just maintenance. Yeah, just maintenance. Yeah.
What exactly happened?
I kind of pulled something in kind of the hip area, so I just wanted to be cautious with it and take time to rehab it so it's not kind of nagging over the course of the year. So it's good to get that back, and then I ended up getting sick on top of that. So just kind of the double whammy kind of delayed my recovery a little bit. But yeah, I got back now full strength and feeling good with my legs under me again, and just kind of getting back in the swing of things.
It's kind of more efficient to just do two at once.
Apparently, yeah, get them out of the way, so hopefully I don't have to deal with that for anymore this year.
How are you feeling now?
Feeling good. Yeah, I think it was good yesterday being back with the guys, pre-game skate, and more high tempo and just having even some physical contact. You kind of missed that in the one-on-one skates and stuff. So yeah, just kind of getting back in it, and then I think getting used to the systems too. So just getting kind of I've been doing what I can to stay up to date on video and stuff, but kind of feel it out. The active reps have gone a long way.
Just been watching the games while you've been out.
Yeah, definitely keeping up to date on that. Watching the boys. I was at the game last night too, so it's good to see it live and watch them go through it and learn from it as well in our video sessions the day after.
Is it like watching it live last night? Is that easier than film to see it in action?
A little bit. I like seeing a live game's always fun to watch, and you can kind of see it where they had us sitting two up in the corner. You kind of see the plays develop and such. But I think video also accomplishes the same thing. But yeah, it's good to see it in person.
Knowing the competitive nature that this camp has, does it feel like you might be working from behind, missing some time, or how do you feel?
I don't like to look at it that way. I think it's more I just have something to prove now. I missed a couple, like a week. I think it's more the system stuff, getting on top of that early and just staying, ready on that front. But I don't think I'm behind or anything. I think it's more about getting healthy and then, showing what I can do.
How nice is it to have a veteran like Jason Dickinson, it looks like, on the line, that they're working you to kind of coach you along and bring you up to speed with things?
Oh, he's been great since day one when I came in here. A couple of years ago after my college season, he took me under his wing, and just a great guy to lean on, a lot of experience, and especially playing alongside him, someone that's just steady and someone who's reliable. I've learned a lot from him, and I hope I continue to do so.
If you stay in that role, it's going to be kind of the defensive checking line. Do you feel like at this point maybe the defense is going to be more your role in the NHL? Like, is that something you're trying to lean into more? Or?
I think honestly my identity is just being a hard-nosed player with a lot of compete, forcing turnovers. So I don't think the defense limits us to be strictly defense. I think it allows us to honestly play more offense. The more you shut other teams' lines down, the more chances you're going to have the other way. So I think, good defense leads to good offense is the hope, and hopefully that's the plan. So we'll see.